In a previous podcast, attention was given to the NJIT cycle of student learning and assessment. That cyclical model attended to identification of the university's core goals, as expressed in the NJIT mission and NJIT Strategic Plan 2010 through 2015, and the many ways these goals are integrated into the university's programs. The cyclical model also attended to using the NJIT program review process as a forum for innovation as we share with each other the traditional and avant-garde ways we engage in instruction and assessment. Our model called for a documentary effort to assemble proof that we're indeed paying the closest attention to our university community. The model, although robust, is in need of empirical verification. To explain the process of field testing the model, we turn in this podcast to a matrix in which we map our university's core goals into the NJIT organizational chart. I'm Norbert Elliot, chair of the NJIT Middle States Commission on Higher Education Self-Study, and I'm presenting this podcast. When our new provost, Dr. Ian Gatley, arrived at NJIT, he brought with him a copy of the Middle States publication, Student Learning Assessment, Options and Resources, given to him by Ann Wall, a specialist in student learning outcomes assessment at Rochester Institute of Technology, where Provost Gatley led the Center for Student Innovation. In his first meeting with the NJIT Middle States Rapid Assessment and Steering Committee, as well as in subsequent meetings with the NJIT community, Dr. Gatley frequently showed two figures from this publication. The first figure offered a model that mapped institutional-level goals to program-level goals. Once that had been accomplished, program goals could be mapped. He reasoned correctly that we all had in hand, in some filed spreadsheet somewhere, columns and rows that map programs and course goals. Such mapping is, after all, part of our accreditation process for the Accreditation Board of Engineering Technology, the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business, and the National Architectural Accrediting Board. Provost Gatley challenged us, however, to demonstrate the relationship between institutional and program goals. Such knowledge, he hypothesized, was what Michael Piani termed tacit knowledge, that information which is used as a tool and therefore is so familiar that we don't unpack its significance. And that visitors were coming from the Middle States Commission in 2012, Provost Gatley challenged us to articulate that tacit knowledge is the focus of our work. Now, the NJIT cycle of student learning and assessment begins with identification of the NJIT mission and strategic plan. We've already completed one university strategic plan, led by President Robert Altenkirk, which ran from 2004 to 2010, and we're now finalizing a second that will lead from 2010 to 2015. What, we asked ourselves, was tacit in our mission and planning processes that we needed to unpack so that the relationship between the institution and its programs could be fully articulated and thus better understood. Using basic grounded theory techniques of coding established by Barney G. Glaser and Anselm Strauss, we coded the NJIT mission and current strategic plan and identified 11 core goals, the values that guide our actions across the 14 characteristics of excellence identified by the Middle States Commission. We approach learning at NJIT as a lifelong educational activity, one that's informed by an attitude toward research-based inquiry that seeks to augment the role of our research faculty in leading the state science and technology university. We seek to foster an awareness of economic opportunity as integral to individual and community advancement because we see positive interrelationships between economic planning and uniform advancement. We heed a call to service in a variety of community settings, from our Newark neighborhood to our professional settings, and we encourage leadership roles in both professional and citizenship activities. Within our research-based learning environment, we promote engagement from our students, and we especially celebrate entrepreneurial inquiry when problem-solving. As New Jersey's leader in science and technology, we see technology not merely as a tool, but rather as a way to improve quality of life. In all of our dealings, we adopt ethical conduct across circumstance. Our ethical view of social justice celebrates diversity and seeks to understand all cultural contexts. And as a way of doing business, we insist on civility that embraces respect and candor. With these core goals fully articulated in formal fashion, we can then proceed to map them across all NJIT programs. That is, we can map these institutional-level goals across NJIT units associated with academic affairs: Newark College of Engineering, College of Architecture and Design, School of Management, College of Computing Sciences, College of Science and Liberal Arts, Albert Dorman Honors College, Robert W. Van Houten Library, Faculty Council, and Graduate Studies. Academic and student services can also be part of this mapping, as can institutional research and planning, continuing professional education, information services, and technology. Varied activities in research administration can be part of the mapping process. Indeed, the mapping can extend to those functions of fiscal administration in the Office of General Counsel, university audits and human resources, athletics and university advancement and web services. All units within the university organizational chart can participate in the activity of aligning their specific programs with NJIT institutional-level goals. Now, we begin with an attempt to establish an NJIT matrix of student learning and assessment, and found that our core goals may be applied to both institutional context and educational effectiveness. Our NJIT cycle of student learning and assessment and our NJIT matrix of student learning and assessment have both proven robust indeed. We're finding that there are resonances that may be identified between Middle State Standards 1 through 7 and 8 through 14. Rather than seeing divisions on the organizational chart, we're beginning to see connections that will allow us to answer that most fundamental of all Middle States questions: is the institution fulfilling its mission and achieving its goals? In the next stage of our experiment, we will examine if the mapping exercise can extend to an academic unit. We'll thus continue the experimental verification of our model.